Welcome to the Why Not podcast with me, Chrissy Hawkins. In a world where everybody asks you why, I'm here to ask why not. So sit back and relax or walk and listen and join me on this journey as we try to answer this never-ending question: what makes people say, why not? Hi guys, welcome back to Why Not. So there's something a little bit different here today. This is actually a bonus episode coming from the Grassroots Gazette Podcast, which I recorded with them back in January. So for once, I'm actually on the other side of the interview, and I think there were some really good questions asked. We talked about rider fitness. We also talked about mental health and how fitness can be important towards that. So I hope you guys really enjoy this, and yeah, let me know how you found it. You can also hear the original on the Grassroots Gazette Podcast as well.
Welcome to the Grassroots Gazette Podcast. Today, myself and Aoife are joined by Chrissy Hawkins from Strong in the Saddle. Can you introduce yourself to the Grassroots Gazette Podcast? Chrissy, please.
Hi guys, how are you? So I am Chrissy Hawkins. I run Strong in the Saddle. So I'm an online strength coach for equestrians who are looking to improve their riding position, rehab old injuries, or just feel more strong and confident when they're working with horses or, riding and working around the yard. That's basically what I do.
So, Chrissy, you've been engaged with the Grassroots Gazette.
I think I came maybe about 6 months in.
Yeah,
I've been around for a while.
Yeah, and I always remember that you've engaged in the lives and things like that from the get-go and things like that. What was it that drew you to the Grassroots Gazette?
Well, it was great to see an equestrian publication that was actually just like, for want of a better description, normal people. Do you know what I mean? It felt easier to actually like come in and talk to them instead of kind of trying to contact like a big publication that talks basically about professionals all the time. So I think there is a bit of strength and conditioning coming into the equestrian community, but it's very mostly at the top level, and I'm trying to help filter that down because it's beneficial for all levels basically. So you guys were the best place to get that.
Yeah, no, it is. It's all that sense of community, and that's one of the things with the Grassroots Gazette. It's been that, and I'm so glad from the get-go it's been about community and it hasn't got away from it. Yeah, like you see, as things evolve and they grow, you think, oh wait, will they forget something? But it always comes back to the community. And as I say, you see now with the Hey campaign that is all around the community and how that has like literally blown up like in the last week. Like we're recording this on a Wednesday night in the middle of Mental Health Week, Equestrian Mental Health Week, and you can see that so many of the top end people within the equine community have wanted to jump on board with this, and they're like, Shane's phone was blowing up from all these people going, I have to get involved, want to get involved. So I think that's testament to what Shane has built with the Grassroots Gazette. So it is great to see. Like, yeah, no, it's amazing, and that you're true. That's true. The community, like even being in one of the riders groups, there's always a bit of crack. And like the time you had the gala and everything, it's like all these people you've never met before, but you're like, hey, I've seen you before, and it's like, you settle in real well. Like it's great, Yeah. And the Hey campaign's crazy. It's been just flying up, like, and seeing so much involvement in it is great. Like it's great to see as well. Yeah, it's such a positive outcome as well. Like, and it's something that Shane Rooney thought of, and felt that he could make a difference. And the tagline with the Grassroots Gazette is "Be the Change," and he's really just embodied "Be the Change." Like, there definitely is going to be a change to mental health and how it's looked upon within the equestrian community going forward. Like, it's testament to him. It's brilliant. Like, yeah, no, I think it's amazing. Like, and like a lot of people have said, you're kind of taught to just be tough in the equestrian industry, and like like people don't really, they see all the finished products, but they don't see the hours people put in. They don't realize, I think, like your horses aren't just, your business and all. They're, you grow a bond with them. So if something happens to them, it affects your mental health. And this time of year, it's rotten working in it, which doesn't help your mental health either. So like all these things, and I just think the Hey campaign is so great for shining the light on that, and more people will realize it as well, that outside the equestrian industry. Yeah, and it's such a dedicated sport that we're in. As you say, even this, we're dedicated now. Aoife's standing outside in -3 or -4 degrees just so she can get a good connection and join us on this podcast. Yeah. It shows the commitment we have. Exactly, yeah.
This is dedication to the cause, guys. Hi and good evening to all of our lovely listeners. It is -3 in the middle of the hills of Cavan. So yeah, I'm joining in with gloves, 4 jackets in -3 and a cup of tea. So Chrissy, hi, how's it going? Lovely to finally see you and chat to you, and we're delighted to have you on board. And just touching on the Hay campaign. Hey, how are you? So first of all, how are you today?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I've had my nap earlier, so I'm ready to go for this. So that's always good. How is -3 conditions in Cavan?
Absolutely Baltic. I'm loving life. I think it might actually, my horse actually might be warmer right now. He's well rugged up in a king size fluffy fresh bed, but no, all's good, dedication to the cause and all. So yeah, I suppose, Chrissy, if we and how you do it, and they were like, oh my god, yeah. Will you fill us in on how, in your words, in your opinion, how do you think that the Hay campaign kind of filters into maybe what you do on a day-to-day basis, or more lines of how can physical activity by looking after your own self outside of being in the saddle, how does that filter into the saddle? Like if someone is listening and they may not know you very well yet, kind of give us a bit of an insight in how them two elements of, you know, your own physical strength, your own physical activity, how does that kind of marry into maybe how you are in the saddle or even how you're feeling?
Yeah, so basically I kind of always say this when I'm kind of explaining it to people, is horse riding is just like any other sport, okay, with obviously the caveat that you have to spend the whole time arguing with a half-ton animal. Every sport has strength and conditions. If you look at GAA players, you look at rugby players, you look at football players, they have gym sessions on top of their fitness sessions. And the reasons for this is it helps their bodies be more prepared, less likely to get injured. It helps them keep on top of like weaknesses or previous injuries. So like one of the biggest precursors to injury is previous injury. So you kind of always have a weakness there. If you can keep on top of that and keep that strong, that's going to help you when you're riding. So say for instance as well, like you get benefits from strength training, such as, you know, increased bone density. When you've got more muscle mass, you're protecting your joints, all these things. So if you do come off, your body's more protected, and you're less likely to get injured. Also, when you're riding, you'll feel more in control. That can translate through to confidence. You'll feel better when you are going to a competition because you're not afraid your horse is going to plant you and run off into the night or whatever. But you know, like obviously with horses there is that unpredictability that it can always happen, but at least if you feel more stable, if you feel stronger when you're working with them, that's going to translate through. You'll be more confident, they'll be more confident in what you're asking. Hopefully less likely to end up
in the water, like what happened to Gary. If you moon in the whole sky.
Thanks for bringing that up again, Aoife. I really appreciate that.
It's a wonderful
You're
photo.
very welcome.
I went looking through
Anytime.
Instagram for it when I listened to that episode.
Well, I have it on my wall here as we come up into the attic. It's on my wall. It's my favorite photo, so yeah, I'm proud of it. But touching on that, do you find when equestrians come to you for, you know, the consultations and that, would be the first point of call their old injuries? Because look, most equestrians are crocs. I'm the very same. I creak and bang every time I get out of bed in the morning. Like, do you find that a lot?
I'm held together with self-adhesive. I'm held together with VAT wrap right now. You know, this is, let's just be honest. I'm actually considering
always worked into the program because as I said, like I have a good and bad shoulder. So I have rehab exercises I do for my shoulder. When my shoulder's good, I stop doing them. Then my shoulder gets bad again. And I start doing them again and it gets good. So that's what everyone I find people do, but a lot of people do the first part and they never come back to doing it. Whereas like you can work a lot of these exercises into a warm-up when you're training, or if you do train, or, you know, it's stuff you can do when you're sitting down watching the TV. You know, it's not really complicated stuff. And if you can keep on top of that, it's going to make your life easier.
You know, as one thing I've been lucky enough in the sense of I've got to talk to a couple of professional riders and wanting to get the understanding of fitness and how important it was for them, because I don't think it was something, well, as you touched on at the start, that amateurs or grassroots riders actually really paid enough attention to. And then when you get talking to the likes of, we say, someone that's within an Olympic cycle and actually the work rate that they have to actually do. And don't forget, they are riding 5-6 horses a day, but they're still getting their strength and conditioning training in, which I'd love to see it filter down into amateur riders that little bit more. Do you find it growing that little bit more now?
I think there's an interest in it, but they still don't yet understand the benefits. And a lot of these things is you don't understand the benefit until you're there. So like me saying about my shoulder, like you're like, oh, well, it's just bad. It's just dodgy. You know what I mean? It's, I had that fall. That's what happened. Whereas if you knew how you could feel, and when you get that feeling, you realize, okay, I know this is what it's at, you know, and it's that kind of, you know, horse riding, how do you get better? You keep riding the horse. But what if your hamstrings are stronger and your core was better so you could sit up straighter? You know, these little things that you won't notice until you, and again, it takes time as well. It's going to be something that's going to take 8-12 weeks before you start to see that. And then one day you'll be like, wait a minute, this is way more comfortable than it used to be, you know, or like, my shoulder hasn't been sore when I went to carry the saddle, you know, stuff like that. My back's not in bits doing the stable. Yeah, no, it is. And as I say, we're all guilty of it. I'm sure, Aoife, you'll come in on this as well, that we put our horses first the whole time and never actually think of ourselves or spend that quality, you know, for ourselves to get them better. Like, I don't know if you follow Aoife on Instagram, you'll see our horse lives the best life ever. I'm actually, if I ever go and come back, I want to come back as one of Aoife's horses. It's so well looked after.
He is fairly well looked after, guys. You know, I do give him the 5-star treatment. Sometimes he deserves it, sometimes he doesn't, and 90% of the time he does. But no, aligning into what Chrissy was saying in regards to the acknowledgement or the understanding in how maybe the average Joe, and for want of a better phrase, or the normal rider, if you like, so not like pro riders I'm speaking of here, I'm speaking of the average person who rides. And if we were to gather a few of them and ask them their maybe understanding or knowledge on, you know, rider biomechanics or rider fitness outside of the saddle, I guarantee you some, and I'm not jumping the gun, but some may kind of say, oh, well, you know, I do my fitness when I'm in the saddle. And they might not understand how important and significant it is to be in, you know, the best shape you can, or the best fitness level, or having muscles in the right area so that you can actually ride in a better shape and form and outline and actually carry your own self, you know, especially in like dressage, the fundamental basics of it. Like, look, if you look at the training scale and go from there, like I was talking to someone else the other day about the training scale, and it was completely new to them. And that's the stage that they were at in their riding. And they're not a dressage rider, they're actually show jumpers. And I was talking to them about like their core. And then when they actually started and came back a few, you know, 3, 4, 5 weeks, and then they realized, oh, that makes such a difference. Like, that's brilliant to bring and more awareness to, that you really do need to have, you know, correct muscles in the correct places that are functioning and helping you ride in the best shape and form and carry yourself, because then you can be the best rider you possibly can be. So I suppose, Chrissy, just putting it back in regards to like the hate campaign, and how maybe, or what would you suggest, say for especially in light of this week, how if someone is having not so good of a time in the saddle, or if their horse is going through a rehab or an injury and they aren't physically in the saddle, what would you encourage or say to them in order to maintain or develop or continue their own rider fitness, especially when it's so cold? How would you give them that bit of encouragement? Yeah, so actually, funny enough, I have in my horse is out of action at the moment as well, so I'm kind of going through this a little bit as well. I think finding other things that'll keep you active, like I know it's freezing, but you know, if you can put on a hat and scarf to go to the horse, you can put on a hat and scarf and go for a walk. A lot of training, like there's plenty of YouTube videos as well if you want to check them out, but like you can do workouts at home. That means you don't have to leave. You can do a lot of stuff with body weight, and like that, you were mentioning the core, like say, I think one thing to say about the core as well, really important to remember, is that's not just your abs. Your core is that whole center from basically your abs right down to your glutes, back and front. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with that stuff with body weight at home to help strengthen that area. And just because you can't ride your horse doesn't mean you can't be doing something to keep yourself in as well shape as you can, not shape like
as strong as you can for when they come back into action. And I think as well,
Exactly.
one thing to remember as well is it takes time. So don't beat yourself up if you're not doing it really quickly, and don't beat yourself up as well if your horse is out of action. It's not your fault. You know, because that can really affect your mental health as well. I find when, you know, you've an injured horse, you just feel so bad for them. There's nothing you can do, but you just have to wait it out, you know.
Good point, Chrissy, on that note, that when your horse, whether it's 1 or 10 you have and they're out of action, that it can actually affect how you feel day to day and your mental health, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Just touching on that, I've noticed myself when I am that bit fitter and that bit stronger, especially when it comes to the eventing, going cross country, I'm not going to make the same mistakes as I do when I'm unfit or not training properly. Could you maybe expand on that, on how you see that works?
Yeah, so basically, if you are training more, or if you're working on your even resistance training, if you're doing that outside of the saddle, because I suppose there's only so much riding you can do, your horse will be fed up as well. But basically, it makes the endurance in your muscles. So, you know, it builds muscle fibers, which means they can last longer. It improves your circulation, so you're able to breathe better. And when you can breathe better, it helps the circulation, keeps blood coming to the muscles, which means it's a lot easier for you to go for longer. So if you're not gassed, your muscles are able to work better. You can concentrate on what you're doing rather than I'm going to die. Which means then, you know, riding lines are easier because you can see the line, because you're not trying to like breathe and not pass out, you know, stuff like that. It's all these little things are interconnected that we don't think about, I think. And then it's only, like you said, when you're a little bit fitter and you feel it happening, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, there's method to this.
Yeah, no, well, for me personally, it's always been, and I go back to, is decision making when I'm out cross country. And that's when I've always noticed my riding that bit better, was when I am that bit fitter. Like most people now, January is reset for the season for 2023. A lot of eventers, you see them, they're all pulling in the horses and everybody's trying to get that little bit of edge on everybody.
Yeah.
I've noticed myself in the last while, a lot more, as I say, amateurs are out training that little bit more. For the person that is thinking about getting into it or trying to, what would you say is the best way to do it, or what advice would you give them to do?
Well, I know this is going to sound like a sales pitch, but if you have never done it before, the best thing you can do is get a coach. It doesn't have to be me, but getting someone who can help you and structure a plan, because like you can go join the gym and you'll get a free plan and you'll do the plan for about a month and then you'll get bored and you can probably get a new one, but you won't go and do that. You'll leave. I've watched this happen every year when I work in commercial gyms. Whereas if you have a coach, one, you've got someone who's going to make that plan for you first, or so it stops you spending hours scouring the internet being confused. Then you've accountability. So they will be on to you going, did you do it this week? Oh, no, you didn't. Okay, right. So what happened? And they can restructure the plan as well, because another thing I find is when I get clients in, they go, yep, no, I can do 4 times a week. And you're like, are you sure? Will we just put 3 and we can add a 4th? No, I'll be fine. But 2 weeks in, yeah, no, I only got 3 done.
Yeah.
You know, you need to like think about it and be honest with yourself how much time you have. And that's where you have a coach, they can restructure the plan into a time that suits you better. And these are all the things. If you have any questions, you know you've got someone you can ask. You can be bombarding them with questions, and that's what they're there for. If you don't like an exercise, ask them why you have to do it. If you find an exercise incredibly uncomfortable that you can't actually do it, they can change it for you. You're not stuck trying to force yourself to do something you don't like, forcing yourself to do something that hurts you. And if you have any questions as to why they're making you do a horrible exercise, they can tell you why.
Yes, because you didn't do the workout the day before.
Yeah, today you're doing burpees. I'm joking. I very rarely program burpees.
Yeah, no, the burpees, nobody likes burpees.
No.
Yeah, no, it's I said, even look, I know we're all highlighting the Hey campaign, and I know it's a trend of all the podcasts in the last couple of days that we are talking about it, but even that, you know, the feel good factor that you get, the endorphins are released in you from exercise, I think is a big thing. And I think we should all try, as you say. I was listening to one of your podcasts, I think it was yesterday, I was listening to it going to work, where you were saying that, like, changing the word from exercise, was it?
To movement.
Yeah, to movement, which I think is a great idea, because as you say, like that exercise always has had that stigma around it, that it's bad, or it's, you know, it's a chore. But if you say a bit more movement or a bit, you know, I think that's great. Like, where did you come up with that concept? Or
oh, I completely stole it. I had someone on the podcast before Christmas, and she works with people. She's a psychotherapist who works with people who have disordered eating problems, and she tries to move that away, because that is like exercises that it's a punishment for eating too much. Or when I'm trying to talk, like I'm a personal trainer, but I find I get this all the time. Like clients will be like, oh yeah, no, I was eating chips, or even like on the yard or the gym night out, someone was eating a few onion rings. Oh, I better not have another one of them. And I'm like, drinking pints. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
So I like, that's the thing. Like, just because you are training doesn't mean you're doing it to lose weight. And I think it's really important to highlight that. So when it comes to strength training horse riders, I'm not here to try and monitor your diet and make you lose weight. I'm trying to make you stronger. So when you're riding or competing, you feel more in control and you feel more confident. That's my goal. If you lose weight as a byproduct, happy days. If you don't, doesn't matter. Like, I don't really lose weight. I stay around the same weight all the time. My goal currently is to lift as heavy as possible. So, you know, it's not like sometimes like muscle gain comes hand in hand. You look leaner, happy days. But the goal here is strength.
And do you find that you have a lot of clients that come to you with, like, it's an overall goal? I want to get, you know, it's this size, or I want to get to this weight. Or do you find that a lot of people are coming to you, listen, I am competing at this level and I want to step up? What way do you find your clients at the moment?
I would say the majority of people who come to me in, like, because I do work with general population as well, or come to train, it's because they want to lose weight. Most people come, they want to lose weight. They don't know how they want to lose weight, how much. Like, sometimes they have an idea, but like, it's like that. It's they come to lose weight, and then you kind of try and move away from that and try and set other goals instead, like, because like, you'll probably never be the weight you want to be. And also at the same time, you could say, I want to be 65 kilos. I could show you 10 different people at 65 kilos and they could look completely different.
Yeah, I think sometimes, like, judging weight is a very misleading way of kind of what condition you're in. I know myself, I'm always been that quite stocky and kind of broad. So like, I would always float at a certain type, certain kgs. Like, even when I've been leaner, which is every now and again, it's not the whole time, but I'm that bit leaner, I still am in around the same weight. My weight very, very rarely changes. Now, how I look is completely different, but yeah, my weight doesn't change, which I always find very amusing. Like, you know,
it's cool. Like,
we'd have a laugh and joke, you know, with family and things like that. Or I would jump up in the scales, and I'm like, I get up on them, and at the times when you are that little, you're still up quite high on the scales, and you're like, you're fat. Like, I'm like, I'm not. Look where. Yeah, right. I've got on them now. They definitely agree with it being fat, but sure, look, that'll come off as we get closer to the season. We'll keep working on that.
Sure, it's just after Christmas. It's you know, there's a joke in the gym, like, you know, winter is bulking season.
Yes.
So, like, you know, you're allowed to get fat in winter because you're just bulking for the summer.
Yes, I always say it's just a little bit of winter weight I carry.
Yeah, I'm just carrying a bit of excess holiday weight.
Yeah, I'm just not sure which winter I got it in. Yeah, no, it is good. So you mainly focus, is it all on strength and conditioning, or do you look at as well overall cardiovascular fitness as well? Or,
you know, they kind of go hand in hand. And you know, it depends if you're looking to improve your cardio, like, because a lot of people are already horse riding quite a bit, trying to add in, like, you know, walks or runs or whatever, you bikes or whatever. It's kind of hard. Like, you don't necessarily need to. Whereas if you are doing the strength element, again, it will just improve everything as well. Like, if anyone has ever done like a leg workout or like a, you know, a lot of squats in a row, you're still gassed. It doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, you don't have to be necessarily running to get cardio, you know. And also I think the majority of people hate running, so also.
Yeah, well, I know Aoife is a big enough runner. She's done a couple of marathons, so maybe she might throw in something different there. She probably enjoys running that little bit more.
I love running. It's brilliant. It's such a head clearer. It's fantastic. Like, I used to run in all sorts of weather, in all sorts of terrain. when I wasn't able to be around or ride horses when I lived abroad at a particular time. And I absolutely love it. I mean, some people actually like despise running. I think they'd rather do something, you know, torturous, and they really view it as torture. I suppose everyone is different.
I
And just
actually
like even
run regularly and I still hate it.
really, oh dear, I suppose everyone
Yeah.
is different. Yeah, each to their own. Yeah, and I guarantee you, some people are listening in, going, "Yeah, okay, right, I kind of I relate to Chrissy, or yeah, I relate to Aoife, or I relate to Gary with the whole like winter bod situation going on." But I mean, love the skin you're in,
Yeah.
Gary. You know, love the skin you're in. But I think it aligns to kind of, you know, the Hey campaign, like what, you know, how are you feeling, and what you potentially, or suggestions, and many people are coming up with about how you can kind of make yourself feel that little bit better. And you know, just from experience, when I had an enormous amount on my plate workload with leadership that I was doing at the time in a different school, in a different job, in a different country, and it was manic now. I loved it, absolutely loved it. It was brilliant. We had to be really time effective and know a boundary and a line, you know. So I used to run in the evening times and into, you know, nighttime. I'd be running in the dark and around London, in the snow, in the rain, in the sleet. It was brilliant, up and down hills. And it was almost, I would say, a form of escapism,
Yeah.
but a refresher. You know, it kind of clears my mind. And I used to kind of, on long runs, and I mean like 33Ks, you know, 28Ks, I'd be kind of
So long.
you'd get this, I get this kind of like burning sensation and pain. And the way I kind of programmed my mind to think, it was actually like mind control, like strength training for my brain, to be honest. And I don't want to kind of go into it too much, but it was really fascinating when I reflected back on like maybe a month of training plan, or when I started tapering down in what I needed to do for training in prep for a particular longer run, like a marathon or whatever distance I was aiming for, whatever goal or target. Like, and I look back on a calendar, right? And I go, Jesus, look at the amount I've ran. Look at all the miles. And then I think, right, well, what was I saying to myself? How was I fueling my brain at that time? What was my sleep patterns like? And, you know, I brought this up on a live earlier this evening with Sarah Elbert and Heather Lemon about how you can kind of fuel your mind, what you're thinking and what you're viewing, what you're seeing on social media, or how you're talking to yourself is so important. And it feeds back into how fit you are, how kind of fit you can be in your mind, and how much kind of self-control you have, or how your opinion of yourself, or like how many hours you get to sleep, your nutrition, your hydration plan, like that all feeds into us as riders.
All massive things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Another thing that riders like to heavily neglect is the eating and the actual drinking water. But I think drinking water is something that most people are really, really bad at. It's not just riders. So I think I'll give you a pass on that one, but eating is definitely a big one, I think.
Yeah, well, you look at it, and I'm sure we've all been there. We've been at a show, probably didn't eat that morning, nerves have kicked in, or you're up at 4 o'clock in the morning because you have to go out and plat and things like that. So you don't eat a proper breakfast, probably get to your show, nerves kick in again, and you don't eat. And then after the show, you get a big bag of chips on the way home, or, you know,
there's always a burger van at competition,
yes.
isn't there?
Yeah, there's never
There's never a fruit salad bar, like, or a smoothie maker. Do you know what I mean? Like, we should all, do you know what we should do, guys? We should set up the Gary, Chrissy and Aoife smoothie maker, or like vegetable snacks. Imagine at the next event, right? We have like when eventing season kicks off and we go to Torella Wolf. Imagine, and having like a whole salad bar lined up. Do you think it would be a seller?
In an old horse box, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that
could be actually a business plan for us, guys.
I was actually, strange enough, I was talking to a business that do a more healthier kind of options and things like that, and they were saying that they'd love to try get involved with the likes of an event in Ireland or a show jump in Ireland and turn into events.
Well, that'd be brilliant. Imagine if you went like your, you know, whatever competition, and there was more food choices. For sure. Yeah. We give out about it in schools, or there's conversations, sorry, not giving out, but there's just conversations in schools about like a healthier canteen or a healthier snacks, you know, break and lunch for students. And it's so important to actually fuel your own body, right? Like, there's so many times where we have very little sleep, because we're up quite early at the crack of dawn, or even before the sunrise comes up, to load and travel whatever mileage, to the show. And then you're not eating right. Some people don't eat right because of, like you were saying, competition nerves, or I mean, I don't function if I don't eat every 2 hours. That's just me. Whereas, a friend of mine or a colleague of mine would be very different. So I think it's so important when you look at even how we feed our horses, and there's all these, webinars and people in conversations a lot more, I suppose, in the past, say, few years, about nutrition and nutritional value and the right supplements, and for what type of horse, what type of workload, and their breeding, and all of these factors come into play. But as a rider and as a horse owner, do we actually do that for ourselves? So many of us sip on Red Bull before they go competing.
Yeah, loaded on caffeine, a bit of toast in the morning, maybe.
Yeah. That's
and I know, everyone is different, right? Everyone is different. Everyone likes their own ways and whatever they can handle their stomach. But just going back, kind of aligning to this week, and trying to maybe suggest points on how to make yourself feel that bit better if you're not feeling well. Like one thing I touched on the live there earlier, spoke about, was nutrition or sleep deprivation or hydration. And Chrissy mentioned about how important their water is. That's just goes without saying. And even when people maybe write down how they're feeling and why, and look at the broader picture. And yes, there could be things that maybe didn't make you feel so good that are happening internally, or environmental factors. But then actually, what can you do about it? Yes, like I was looking up Chrissy's fantastic YouTube channel and the amazing videos there, and right, that's what I'm going to be doing next week, in preparation, because like you, Chrissy, I'm out of the saddle as well, unfortunately, at the moment. And I've had an experience of it similar this time last year, actually, roughly around this time, whereby I was out of the saddle and I didn't do as much running, or I didn't do as much strength training. And when I got back in the saddle and I was rehabbing him, I noticed a massive difference. And so it's so important to be thinking of, right, I might not be actually, riding 6 days a week or riding 5 or whatever, but actually, if you do that bit of, planning and training in whatever way you're able to fit in around your hectic lifestyle, whichever, that it actually does make a difference when you get back in the saddle. It really, really does.
The thing as well, when your horse starts action, like you end up with massive holes in your day. Like, what am I supposed to do now? You go up, give them a carrot, give them a groom, and then like, all right, see you tomorrow.
Yeah. We'll do that again.
Yeah.
So we say, for instance, now, Chrissy, someone is thinking, they're listening to this. But one thing I know we spoke about this before. I spoke with you. I would love in time that with the podcast and all that, we say we grow, and we say 10 people that are interested in changing their fitness, and then we document it and we follow their progress through the podcast and with yourself, and we break it down. But we say people are thinking about it, and you said the first thing is getting a coach. Sometimes that little bit of a barrier is there for people that are afraid to make that jump. Would you recommend the likes of going to your YouTube channel and going and saying, okay, I can try these exercises before I jump in for a coaching session and things like that?
Yeah, there's absolutely no problem with trying it, As I said, I have my YouTube up there. I would suggest, if you are looking at it, try and maybe look for equestrian specific ones, because I suppose if you just click workout on YouTube, you'll find someone doing a crazy HIIT workout, you'll see a CrossFit workout, you'll see a Pilates workout, you'll see yoga workout, and some of those ones, like if say for instance you came up on a HIIT one first and you did that first, it'll probably be enough to put you off exercise for the rest of your life. So these kind of things, like try and get it as specific as you can for what you're looking for, like say equestrian strength workout or something like that. Like it is kind of hard to find that stuff because it's so niche, but if you are looking it up, don't just say like workout, try to get it and then like you see how you get on doing it yourself. if you find you're getting on fine, you might be grand. There's plenty of people who can train on their own. If you find you're unsure, like, you know, again, with a coach, if you're not sure about your form, they can help you with that, stuff like that, you know. And always, like, even if you just want to ask them a few questions, you know, if you someone like me, feel free to reach out my DMs. I'm happy to give a chat. Like, you know, you don't have to sign up. I can talk to you a little bit as well, you know.
Yeah.
Always don't be afraid to ask questions, I think, is really important, because I think people avoid doing it because they don't want to look stupid.
Yeah. And you just touched on, you say, a little bit of a niche in the market, in the sense of you are a rider specific, which is, I think, is beneficial. I have done personal training before with and try to explain to them what you actually do in a horse when they didn't know what the horse was which, you know, and then they're giving you exercise what they think might work for you, and then I was adapting and things like that. The exercise that little bit more to see it, like, so I think you have that kind of thing there with you being a rider and understanding what's needed and things like that, like, you know. So I think that's great, and it's brilliant to grow that little bit more. And so we'd love here in the podcast to get engagement that little bit more, that, you know, people engaging with us, asking us questions. Maybe we could have you on again in a couple of weeks again, and have, you know, a list of questions from the community. Say, listen, I have this, or I'm struggling with this injury or that injury. You know, would you recommend what kind of thing? I'd love to do something like that if you could in time. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd love to do Q&A. The one thing I would say is I can't necessarily, if it's kind of a nerve related injury, I wouldn't, or like a spinal cord injury. If it's back related, like muscles, fine. But spinal cord or nerve injuries, I won't answer, just because it is something you really need to see someone for, you know. But everything else, muscular injuries, like, you know, building up bone density, stuff like that, like, because I am also a neuromuscular therapist, so I'm a physical therapist and a personal trainer who has spent 20 odd years horse riding, so I've landed it every which way off the horse, so I can generally answer a lot of stuff like that, you know. No, that was great. I just think that would be great to engage with. Yeah, you're free tomorrow. Can you come up and help me? Yeah, and then when you're finished with Aoife, can you give me a hand? I'm not joking, guys. I'm fantastic. Yeah. I'll be touring Dublin. Chrissy, sorry, the country. Wrap up, like, before we kind of wrap up. Say if someone is listening in and they'd like to get in touch with you, so how would they get in contact with you if they are new to who you are? How would they find you? I am on, best place to find me is probably Instagram or my website. So my Instagram is @strongthesaddle_, and then my website is www.chrissyhawkins.com. I have a little comment box there that you can send in messages. I'm also on TikTok. It's Strong in the Saddle without the underscore, because I got there first. So yeah, I do a lot of videos. I try to post a few of them to Reels, but I don't do all of my videos on Reels from TikTok. So just, you don't know what you're going to find in that TikTok, to be honest. I've stayed away from TikTok. I'm too old for it. You're not too old. Never too old for TikTok. Well, I keep telling myself that anyway. He said that, not me. Okay. That's it. I feel very old on TikTok. You said that, not me. Yeah, I just got it in there before you came up with anything, Aoife. It's okay. Chrissy, that's brilliant. So at least people know where to find you if they want to, even like you were saying earlier, just have a chat and have a conversation, not necessarily, you know, feel the pressure to sign up. Because a lot of people, when you see, even, you know, when I was looking at that, in terms of strengthening training, and it was all like sign up. So it's great to hear that from your point of view, you are very open to having a quick conversation or a chat and advice on to give to people, and that's brilliant, you know, because it would hopefully encourage more to start thinking about strength training and rider fitness outside of the saddle and not in it. Exactly. Yeah, no, my DMs are always open, and I always like to say as well, like, because I do think people do worry about asking questions, and no question is too stupid. Like, I have years of experience in this. You are a beginner. You can't know everything. I don't know everything. You know what I mean? So don't think it's a stupid question. There is no stupid questions. The only stupid questions are ones you don't ask. Yeah. That right. And also touching on that, you also have your own podcast as well, which I do recommend people checking out. I listen in regularly on my commute into work and home from work. So where can we get that as well? Yeah, so my podcast is called Why Not? It's on a lot of the streaming platforms, but it's on
Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. If you actually go onto my link tree on Strong in the Saddle, there is links to the podcast. It is mostly fitness based, but I do get guests on with different things talking about. And then also I try to do once a month. I try to do something specifically horsey based.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, they are great. Listen, I would recommend anybody tuning into them. You know, there's a lot of stuff you can learn from them. So definitely it's something to check out.
Thank you for that. I love hearing feedback on my podcast.
Yes, we're the same. We want to hear feedback. We want to hear back from the community. We want to hear what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong as well. So, you know, it's great to have that. We've had it in the last couple of weeks, especially with the podcast being so new. So I really enjoy getting feedback.
Yeah, class. Yeah, no, I've listened to the episodes as well so far, and I'm quite enjoyed them. And as I said, I went down your Instagram to find that photo after I heard it in the podcast.
Yeah, just a pity we didn't get a photo of Aoife's air vest. Then it would have been great then.
That story made me laugh so much. I could picture every part of it.
I know, it's a good one. That's because we were so descriptive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hilarious that day. We should have had it on video, but sure. Look, the next one, we'll get the next one, won't we, Aoife?
Excellent. The amount of stuff you could
memories
go viral for and with horse stuff.
Yeah, you can. Everybody has a good story about horse stuff.
Yeah.
So on that note, thank you for joining us on the podcast. Thank you for co-hosting with me again this evening. And thanks, Chrissy.
Thanks for having me. It was great to be on.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate everybody who listens to this podcast. So if you please could help me with the algorithm and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And even, you know, if you want to reach out and suggest topics for me, I'd be delighted to hear from you. Drop me a DM on Instagram or TikTok. And thanks again for listening.